All right. It is Arton. I
Yes,
think I'm
Arton.
saying your name right. It's great to see you. Okay, so I got the message from you before this session, and I asked you to sort of briefly describe what you're after. And you say simply, I want to learn as much as possible to prepare me for my future career. So do you
Yes,
mind
yes.
elaborating a bit on that? Like, where are you at now with like your education process, and what's your dream? Like, where are you trying to head to with all of this?
Right now I'm in my third year of college out here in Amsterdam, and that means in my third year now I have to do my internships. So right now I'm doing a VFX internship actually at an awesome studio in Delft in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And basically my goal is kind of as I said, learn as much as possible, which is a pretty broad statement, but I kind of want to learn as much also of the pipeline, I guess, and the creative thought process of how everything is done, and not only with VFX, but how to work with animators, and just basically learn as much as possible to kind of be as specialized enough to kind of walk into any studio and know what to do and how to maneuver around in a studio and know what to do kind of to do your job.
That's a
That's
fantastic
kind of,
attitude.
yeah, I think that's a pretty awesome goal to set. And I do like the fact that in my internship right now, I can, through things that I learned through the course, I can actually go in and be like, yeah, you can use technique for this to create this kind of effect. And they're like, oh, wow, really? Like, how did you know that? I was like, I don't know, I'm the best, but it's actually things I learned from the course
It's working.
and awesome stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. So that's super awesome to see.
Cool. All right. So you want to be a sort of adaptable, is what I'm hearing. You want to be able to move from place to place, and you want your skills to be valuable to a variety of studios so that you can have your choice of kind of where you want to go, or you want to be able to be useful everywhere that you do go, right?
Yeah, that's kind of because the gaming industry in the Netherlands is not really as big as, for example, in the America or in Canada or in France is also pretty big. But in the Netherlands, there's not really a lot of places and a lot of big studios that you can go. So they need people who are not only good at the artistic side of VFX, but also the technical side and know how to implement stuff and know even a little bit about code sometimes. So it's pretty valuable to know from beginning to end everything of how it's done and how to do basically stuff like that.
That's really great that you're already aware of that, because it's true to what I've discovered is that life as an effects artist can be a very different experience based on where you're at. At a larger studio, you're probably going to be more specialized and someone else will be doing that technical stuff for you. But in a smaller team, whether that's with a larger studio. So large studios also have small teams, right?
Yeah.
Because they have these prototype projects that they're working on and spinning up, and they need experienced artists that can kind of do a variety of things in a very small environment to figure out, is this prototype even viable? And are we going to put it into a bigger production and actually ship it? So whether you're at a small studio or a big studio, you can find a place to be that sort of generalist, in my experience. And that's cool. That's cool that you have interest in being that kind of person. That skill set is very valuable and very sought after. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's also kind of a necessity, I guess, if you work in the industry in the Netherlands, because the biggest company I think in the Netherlands is Guerrilla Studios, and that's like the actual AAA studio. But most of the companies, about 80% of them, are no more than 10 people. There's some bigger companies of around 30 people. But there's a lot of studios where you have to do multiple things. So it's kind of a necessity to know every part of the effects and animation and what have you.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to switch over to your work now.
Yes, awesome.
And we've got an awesome website here, by the way. Kudos on your website. It's great.
Thank you.
So I like the drawing at the top. I instantly know, I'm like, ooh, this guy can draw. That's great. Super interested to learn more. Coming down to the explosion, I want to go to the concept that you did first for it. I like what you've done with this, that you've gone with what we go over in the class and really riff on it and come up with your own sort of vibe to it. This is really exciting because it means that you're able to think for yourself on your toes and come up with something sort of out of the box from like the basic version of what we have.
It's awesome to hear. Awesome.
And the version we have, by the way, is complex on its own. So the fact that you've gotten to the next level is great. I like the composition overall. I think what this could work on is getting a stronger focal point. So you've got very even glows right through here of like the dark and the white and the dark and the white. And the white is very evenly distributed. You've got lots of the same sort of width of line, and it just kind of goes all the way around. Now, I like that you've gone in and carved out the shapes. I think your next step is to go and carve out your shading, like how you get the dark pieces and the light pieces kind of apart from each other so that it's not just this even thing. Also, when you think about how light works, these light shapes are going to be most prominent here where the bend of the donut is more towards the camera. But as it gets away, notice like you can see between my fingers, right, as it's like this, but the more I tilt it away, the less you're going to see between those fingers until it's completely obscured on the outer edge. But you've got the glow out here as much as you've got it in the center. And so it's really killing the feeling of it wrapping. It really eliminates that for me. And so I would like to see more of the brightness in here. And as it gets out here, these get thinner and kind of broken up by the dark until eventually over here, all there is like the dark out on the outside. Yeah. Same goes with like wrapping around the bottom. You can have light on the bottom, but it would be light that's being cast out onto the ground. So this would be like light rays hitting the ground here and like peeking out from underneath more than it would be just a silhouette of outlined brightness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what your point. I was kind of more focused on the texture, on how to recreate this as a texture than I was actually thinking about how to make it look realistic and how the light would react. Now that you say it, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I put no thought into that.
It's hard to do both at the same time, right? Like you're learning how to texture, but then also you need to think of form and lighting and color and value all at the same time. And so I think you were really successful in here, like of just sort of thumbnailing out, like, you even kind of realized here, like, areas of dark covering up the areas of light, and the light is kind of peeking out, and you're showing the form very simply. I think this is like pretty successful execution of that. It's just, you're right. Like once you get into the weeds of rendering it, it gets tricky. This is cool too. Like how the light comes out, just great shapes, really dynamic, fun stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it's I guess it's a little bit more focused on the details. It's a saying in the Netherlands. I don't know if it's a saying in English. It's because of the trees you can't see the forest anymore. It's basically like you're too close to it.
We have that exact saying in English. Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, so here we go on the video version of what you came up with in the game engine, and this is super rad. So walk me through what you wanted to do on this, your thought process, and so forth.
Basically, because with the course, I also wanted to make portfolio work. So if every effect, I kind of boiled it down to one specific technique I wanted to learn. So for the explosion, I thought the biggest technique that you guys focused on also with the textures was the scrolling texture technique, basically. Like you guys make the donut and the big mushroom cloud, all of these very dynamic scrolling textures. So I wanted to make something that was really focused around that technique, and that's kind of how I got to the concept of the explosion donut, basically. So the main part of it was figuring out the explosion, the timing of that. And so the first thing I did was make the torus, the donut in Maya, and then create the scrolling texture for that and make sure that that looks smooth. And then slowly I started adding all the other elements to it, and it came together like this, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, it is really nice. I think it's got a lot of success to it. I think your big goal now is just going to be differentiating what things are from each other. So like the energy gathering in, I actually really love the motion on that. It's so cool. It's like mesmerizing. But I think the energy gathering in, it struggles with something because you've inverted the way that it glows. So like the darkest spot is in the center and the lightest spot is on the edge, which can look cool for dark magic, but like where you're trying to do a fiery theme here, it just feels like an outline on a material, and it breaks the illusion for me that this is fiery energy sucking in. So I would expect to see the hot core at the thickest parts, and then it fading off as it gets to the outer parts. So you see this especially with like, you know, the lightsaber effect, right? Where it's like the hot center is white and then all the color is on the outside. And you don't need to make this white in the middle, but the brightest it should be would be in the middle, and then it's colorful around the edges.
Yeah, that makes much more sense. Yeah, it's kind of funny because I actually took this as a mesh from you guys. That was already in the course, and I just put one of my textures on it, and I liked the way it looked so much that I was kind of like, oh yeah, it really looks good, but I didn't really put much thought into what it's actually doing. It just looks so cool. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna work with this. But now that you say it, it's like, oh yeah, I completely see what you mean.
I also think this is a real sad. This is like a real sad. I want to say a waste. It's like not a waste, but in the middle here, and I think, man, I should probably make this bigger. Hang on. Can I open link in new tab? Let me get this sorted over here on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Now we've got it bigger. Okay, that's better.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably a little fuzzy because it's not the full resolution, but you get the idea. Okay, so when it's first building up, this fire around the ball is really cool, actually, but you lose it because of all the bigger thing happening. And I would love to see that continue through here.
Oh, yeah.
Or some kind of motion where it's like anticipating the big boom. Because right now it's like that ball is just like sitting perfectly still.
Yeah, it's not really doing much. Yeah.
Well, you got really quiet. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I said you're right that it's not really doing that much. It could have a lot more elements added to it.
Yeah, something happened on your microphone where it's quiet. I don't know what it was.
Oh. Can you maybe hear me now?
Oh, that's much better. Much better.
Yeah. So I was just saying that I think you're right that it's there's not really a lot happening to it. That if I just delayed that scrolling texture a little bit later, it could add a little bit more dynamic to it, I guess. Yeah. So I definitely agree with you. Yeah.
And I think your texture on the smoke bits coming out is scrolling a little weird for me because it's like scrolling back down.
It should be scrolling along with it. That's
yeah. So as it goes, as these travel out, these like arching bits, the texture coming off of them kind of moves in the wrong direction.
Yeah, they should scroll along with the spark. Yeah.
Yeah, or stay still.
I had the same problem with that on my internship. I also made an effect. I made kind of a slicing swoosh with an animated texture, so it went along with it. But instead of if it sliced that way, the scrolling texture would go that way, and it looked super weird. And somebody pointed me out, like, yeah, it's going in the wrong direction. I was like, oh yeah, you're absolutely right.
The sparks coming out feel weirdly off style. They're like kind of round, and they don't really fit with the sharp jaggediness of the rest of the effect.
Yeah.
They're like these like round, blippy things. They're almost bubbly and cartoony.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what kind of texture I use for that. It's pretty well back. I think I might have just used like a round texture, just stretched out. I'm not really sure.
And I think on the opposite end of the spectrum, these are probably a little too long and pointy because when they change direction, you can see them like tilt.
Yeah.
And it kind of ruins the illusion of like a piece flying through the air with a curve to it. So maybe making them smaller would help, or maybe helping their velocity work out so that they don't suddenly just like lose their momentum and then plummet. but so they die before they start like really tipping like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like how the wrapping is working. It feels it's tricky because this like strandy glowiness that you have is really nice in the earlier stages. By the way, you could probably go a little brighter in the center right here.
Yeah.
The flash could be more intense just for a frame or two, because it never really gets that intense.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel like there's an actual, like the big flash isn't really there.
Oh, there it gets intense.
Yeah.
But then it immediately goes away. So maybe that's something to work on. But this strandy glowiness scales out. So what I see is I can see the emissive spreading out away from this dark thing underneath it.
Yeah.
So there's like a darker donut underneath the lighter colored one. And it feels weird to me that the light part would not be in the middle. I like how the shapes move out on the strand, and I love the dissolve that you have.
Mm-hmm.
But the light would stay towards the middle, whereas the outer parts would cool off.
Yeah.
So the further out it is, the less bright it would be, and it would be more hot in the center. Okay. Enough time on that one. We spent a lot on that one. But I want to, because you have so many other awesome ones as well. I love the concept here. This is just rad. It's so good. Beautiful shapes. The design that you did from like based on Shevlin's instruction and the thumbnails is really solid. And I like the rendering that you've got with the motion. So it feels like I can feel it moving up because you've done motion blur in this direction. Like you've done a bit of smudging down in that direction so that it feels like it's pulling up on those edges, up and around. I can also see the motion radiating out from the center because you've got that similar effect going on in there. And then there's a nice focal point surrounded by these swooping shapes that draw my eye in on that. Really cool stuff.
Thank you. Awesome.
I don't know that you could, I don't know that I would really have a critique on how to switch this up. I really like what you've done there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Oh, shiny. Yeah, that wind up of the like I can almost hear the sound that it would make.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, we got to make this one bigger. Oh. Okay. Get you set up. Okay, there we go. All right. So I think this is just really successful. I'll be honest with you. Like I can see where you've used some of our elements as starting point, like the wisps in the middle, but like this motion and dissolve that you did on the outer shell is completely new.
Yeah. So basically, what I said is that with all of the different effects, they were focused on different techniques. I thought that this one was mostly the big fancy technique for this one was the dissolve maps, which you guys did awesome tutorials on. And basically what I kind of wanted to do, which I tried to show in the concept art, was I wanted to make it kind of like a whip slashing out. So you have these multiple slices that are just frantically slicing around. So I made a custom mesh of a sort of 3 big strands that would like go out and hit everywhere. And it just looked absolutely awful. And that's basically how I got to the texture where it just started scrolling around in this cool movement. And that's basically kind of how I went from the original whip idea to the scrolling texture and make it scroll horizontally, which turned out to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, and the fact that you've got those shapes in there that are in your texture stretched out in a linear way, then it spins. It feels like motion blur. And it has this excellent vibe to it that I really enjoy. Now, this wisp in the middle, is that straight out of the base one? Because that wasn't your focus, right? Your focus was on the shell.
Yeah, this was just the original torus smoke thingy particle that was already in you guys' package.
Yeah.
But I just made it thinner and just make it turn around, and in the height stretch it out. So you get this cool kind of sort of tornado-y effect.
So that's what I love about this setup, is that it allows you to make it shine, and it's like a whole different thing that a regular person wouldn't know that you used anything from the base version. But it saves you so much time and energy to go in and use parts of what we've got in the class already, and then add your own part that's fresh and new. And then you can tweak the parts that are in the class so that they feel original and fresh. And boom, you've got a totally new effect. I mean, it's just brilliant.
Yeah, because that's what I love about the course, that it's you guys kind of don't necessarily simplify the technical stuff, but you make it a lot more accessible, so you can really focus on your creative choices and think about how you're going to tweak things and make it different and make it your own. And along the way, without really realizing, I learned a lot about shaders and materials and how to use all of the other stuff. You can just dissect everything and make something awesome out of it.
You're so sweet. Cool. You're so sweet. People are going to think I paid you to say all these nice things. I didn't pay you to say these nice things. But no, that's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that it's working. It's great to get the feedback, because sometimes I'm like in this box making these things and I have other people working with me to build it, but we're like, is this going to be the way that people like it? Is it going to work? And hearing that it's working is super, super validating. So thank you.
Yeah, it was pretty daunting in the beginning, because the most of how I used to learn is basically watch a tutorial and you have a step-by-step process where somebody just step-by-step tells you how to work and what to do. So it was pretty daunting to basically, when you first said, just go around, screw things over, make kit bashes and learn it in the fun way, kind of. And it actually worked really effectively, which is pretty awesome.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Then you've got 2D effects. Because why not? Cool stuff. I think what I noticed more than anything on your 2D stuff was, I mean, you're doing really creative and inventive and fun things with it, but I think the timing on everything is pretty even. And again, it's that thing of like thinking about more than one thing at a time, where so you've got this pink one at the end here is a perfect example of this, where like the shapes are cool, but it's all very even. So it all gets to this outline shape, and then all these little shapes dissolve at basically the same time.
Yeah.
But they all break up into their own little thing simultaneously. And so it takes away from the visual interest that you have with all those cool shapes, and then you end up spending a lot of time in there. Now, in one of my YouTube tutorials, I go through, I think it's like the first one that's like a full animated effect. It's like the white sphere that's all zappy, where I actually chop it up into different layers. So the first pass is all even timing, like what you have here. And then I chop up all the layers into different, all the different portions of it into a different layer. And then I just retime the unique layers. And then I merge it all together, and I go back through and like clean up the edges between them, because you get like weird edges that way. And that's just a quick way to go through and take what you have and make it a little more visually interesting in how it transitions.
Yeah. Now that you said that, I basically see it in every single effect. Same with the water and the explosion, it all kind of dissipates at the exact same time.
It all dissipates at the exact same time every time. That's well, I mean, when you're in it and trying to build all these shapes, it's hard to get the brain to think about timing while it's thinking about shapes. And so that's true with particles as well, like 3D particles. So yeah, that'd be the biggest thing to watch for there. Oh, poor person got shot. And then you've got projectile effects, super cool. I like the use of the nice flip book on that.
Yeah. Yeah, that one turned out pretty nice. The flip book was pretty smooth. I didn't expect it to work as well as it did. I was like, oh, it's pretty good actually.
Yeah. You've tied the missile into the trail really nicely. I like these little rings. The hot point is at the front, and it fades off darker as it gets back. Really successful.
Nice.
Cool concepts. I like that you're really breaking it down, like what you have in mind. All these different things. Yeah. That's a fun style. Is that a flipbook?
Yeah, it's a flipbook animation actually, because I started in 2D animation with the effects and stuff. So that's basically with my Unity projects. It's basically what I mostly focused on creating, is stuff with my flipbooks and crazy stuff like that.
I feel like the little flips of flame in the middle don't quite tie in. Like they're kind of bursting here and there, and I don't know what they're like coming out of, you know?
Yeah.
Like if the color of this crack matched the color of the little flames a little better, I think they'd tie together better. But right now it's such a subtle crack there that these flames don't feel connected to it.
Yeah.
But I really like the outer edge. That's like a mesh with the flipbook on it.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, solid painting. I think these are great. It's going to be tricky because they're so opaque.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thought process behind it was basically how to get it was more focused around colors than actually around texture, I guess.
Right.
So what I really focused on was like the nice gradient and the nice shades of yellow and orange and stuff like that. But I didn't really focus on the details and where it touches the ground and how it's going to react to everything. And it's basically from a distance look like, oh, nice colors, nice shapes. But when you get closer, it's kind of, I don't really see how it's actually working, I guess.
Yeah, I think the overall composition feels nice on those things. I'm just imagining how it would like manifest, but like in a game. I don't know. I think it's cool though. I think it's a cool exercise that you did with like the perspective and everything else. Is this from Elemental Magic as an exercise, or was this something from your own mind?
I think I saw this on Pinterest or ArtStation, maybe, that somebody dissected a particle like this, and I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty smart thing to do. So I was trying to do it the same way, kind of thinking about how you would do it in engine with meshes or particles or flipbooks or whatever, and kind of think of how you're going to do it while you're creating a concept.
Right. Looks good. Let's see here. Heal VFX. Oh, I already played it the first time. Oh, cool. This one you can see the frames. If you use the dissolve instead, it would be a lot smoother because it's kind of choppy on that center sphere. Also, it's weird that it's like the thing at the end is very busy, and I don't know what style you're going for because it doesn't match how everything else is so simple.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a healing spell, but I kind of wanted to make it so I wanted to make a mark on the ground after it left, which was kind of a crack, but you will also have like the healing cross in the middle. So I tried to combine like a healing cross and a ground crack, but it didn't really. It looked more messy than super good or anything.
Yeah. Also, the little particle bits flying off just feel very sort of even, and not my favorite part of the effect, where they're just kind of evenly dispersing out and even timing and in a formation that feels weird. It's like an upward V and then straight up, which again, it fights against the shape language of the circle. Like with the circle, I would expect more of a radial burst or something. And then like I'd have them move very fast and then very slow. This is like the thing with timing that everyone struggles with, is like very, very fast and then very, very slow. And you know, you've got the stretching on these vertical ones. They stretch and then they compress, I think. Yeah.
Those have it a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, the vertical ones feel a little better. Cool. Awesome concept. We're pretty much out of time. Do you have any questions for me?
Oh my days. I guess I was wondering what your plans are for the future for more courses, or maybe updates to the current courses. So do we have anything to look forward to, basically?
Yes, and yes. So I haven't announced publicly the dates that we're going to be doing these, but my next planned courses are the 2D effects class. Next, I want to go deep on 2D, and then we're going to go deep on materials in the class after that. And I'm hoping to get both of those out this year. So I've got a lot of work ahead of me. Really going to grind on those. I learned a lot from the first one, and then this has kind of been a recoup period for me. And I've been doing a lot of other stuff with like plans for announcements on that coming shortly. But yeah, there's a lot coming down the line. So by the end of 2020, we should have a couple more classes.
Nice. Super
ideally.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to do official announcements shortly. I guess if this video goes out, then I've already announced.
I actually have some other pretty cool news. I don't know if you maybe heard, but I've actually got accepted for an internship at Riot Games this summer.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, I knew that you had applied. I wasn't going to bring it up, though, because I didn't want to. But that's congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's super awesome. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I heard it, I think, last week. And tomorrow I'm going to call for more details. And I don't really know what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I'm guessing like the visas and whatever, but it's pretty awesome stuff. Yeah.
It's cool that you've put in the hours. I mean, it's obvious you've put in the hours. The work that you have shows a dedication and a consistency that really it gets you there. And glad that we can help you along the way to get where you want to be.
Awesome. Mm-hmm.
So cool stuff. Anything else? Before we end?
Not that I can think of right now. No, really. I guess.
All right, man. Well, keep it up. You're doing great work. Hopefully you've got some good notes to work on to just polish out some of these assets, and good luck on your internship. That's cool.
Yes. Super awesome, man. Good luck.
All right. We'll catch you later.
Yes. See you later.
Bye.